Everybody, I am sorry for being so late, and I'm sorry I keep saying these kinds of apologies. But I think got the light at the end of the tunnel. We'll talk a little bit about all of that. But yeah, we are doing Industries of Titan today. I did not bring water or tea in front of me. Such a shame. Maybe we'll save that for one of the breaks. But I do also want to explain, for those of you who haven't been in the stream for the last little while, you may be wondering where I was last week. So I was in the UK and I was in town last week, but the jet lag kind of caught up with me. And so I wound up sort of sleeping through the usual casting time. I think I wound up waking up at about like 10 o'clock in the evening. And the big problem with that is if I start streaming at that time, I'm gonna just destroy the workday. But I just took a quick look here. We've got our quality options. We've got everything set up and ready to go. So I'm gonna open up Industries of Titan. There's gonna be an opening cinematic that I like a lot. Hang on, I'm getting an epic message here. It's probably gonna yell at me for having an upload that's too big, but yeah, we'll watch a cinematic for watch a cinematic for Industries of Titan. I'll talk a little bit about the game, and then we will pick up where we left off. Any minute now.
Titan. Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But some dreams start smaller. A better life. More dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong. Those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
Okay, so first of all, I banged the microphone stand during the presentation, so sorry for that. Number two, like an idiot, I had the cursor sitting there in the middle for pretty much the entire thing. So sorry for that as well. But one thing, I think I said this late. I hope I said this in the last time I streamed Titan, but I probably said this later than I wanted to. I just wanted to mention that I was given a copy of Industries of Titan from Brace Yourself for promotional purposes. Obviously, I'm a very big fan of Brace Yourself and the people that make all of the games for them, particularly the Titan team, but certainly not exclusively. But it is one of these things where, you know, even though I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, it's one of these things that you want to disclose, get out of the way. I sincerely hope that all of you find this game incredibly compelling and rush out and buy it. But I don't want you rushing out and buying it for reasons that you might turn around and say, hey, I was bamboozled into getting this. Although I will still say that it's a... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I love it when someone... I tried to give someone a call to be nice, and then they didn't pick up, so now apparently I'm supposed to deal with this while I'm in the middle of the stream. Yeah, no. Okay, so sorry, that really put me off. But anyways, I'm obviously very grateful that Brace Yourself reached out and gave me a key. Very big fan of this game, but it is one of these things we want to get out of the way for disclosures. I do also just want to mention here that I am playing on the experimental branch, so to my understanding, Industries of Titan is continuing to get updates. However, those updates are only being added on the experimental branch. And then, of course, when the game gets its 1.0 release, which should be within the next couple of months, I don't think they've given a specific date for this yet. But it's coming up soon. I'm pretty sure they said the kind of the last quarter of 2022. But one way or the other, you're going to get a chance to play all of these wonderful things. And I'm not sure what the post-release plans are, and I suspect probably that will be contingent on how well the game does. Obviously, it's been in early access for Steam as well. I don't know how well the game has done or what the expectations were for it. My hope, of course, is that everyone plays and loves it. And certainly Brace Yourself know how to make really good games and sort of get them in front of people. So my hope is that this is reflected. So, oh my God. Multiple messages after saying, hey, don't want to bother you, but... I really should just turn off my phone for this. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the release date is for it, but what I'm going to be playing here is the experimental branch, which of course means that if things are glitchy or weird, it's because I'm playing a version that's a little bit more freewheeling than the others. All right, on other planets, becoming a pilot can take years of study. On Titan, it's anyone's game. Now, I will confess, sorry, I don't even know if I explained... Oh yeah, no, I did explain why I wasn't streaming this last time. So I'm going to need to reacquaint myself with the state of play, but that shouldn't take too long. It's foggy. So if I recall correctly, we were really short on isotopes. Clearly, we've got some that we can refine now. But I think the plan was to try and move out to this isotope node. I think if I were to... Oh, wait, hang on. I need to buy a mine first. Okay, there's actually a few things that I can do here then. So let's go number 1. Let's access the tech web and see if there's any new toys I want. So I can go for pollution resistance. That actually seemed like a good idea. Okay, can't reach that bridge yet. I'm sure I'll deal with the fire growth rate. Okay, extra range for the mine would be nice. Probably should have done that earlier. HQ limit is also a good one. Oops. I don't mind the influence cap, but I maybe don't need that as urgently as the others. Yeah, that will bring me into single digits. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let's also get reacquainted with the corporate goals. So I'm going to need to destroy a rebel HQ. Now I'll need to build a shipyard for that first. Own 2 science labs, so that's going to be a fairly straightforward one for me to get. Store 9,000 fuel. Now I'm going to have to build the infrastructure for that, but none of these are too difficult. Top employer, so I think that's naturally going to happen as part of my expansion. Influence shouldn't be too difficult. We've already cleared 7 resource patches, so the first 2 tiers are more or less things that are going to happen as a result of me just playing the game the way that I normally do. Next up, possess 3 ships, so for that I'm going to need to build at least 2 shipyards. Population grower, claim 12 migrant ships. Now, the nice thing about that is that will be in line with some of the other things that I want to do in terms of growing my population. And then finally, mineral cultivator, possess 4,500 CUs of minerals. I don't think we can get that with our what we currently have in stock, but we do have a mineral node kind of on our way. So I suppose the first thing that I want to do is get another 1,000 credits. Now that's going to be a little tricky. I mean, essentially that's just a waiting game. But yeah, I'll want to put down... So the 1,000 credits will be for a mine. We'll at least build one for the isotope node, but it probably wouldn't hurt to put one down for the mineral node as well. I may also want to consider putting down another fuel turbine. And the one question mark I have now is that if I'm going to be generating pollution in this mineral node, the original plan was to try and make this all my civilian... all of my housing and such, but I'm going to be generating pollution from this mineral node. And so I'm wondering if there's a better way for me to handle the pollution that will be generated. I think I'll think about that later. I think for now we can unpause and do our thing. Okay, so 43 influence. I've got obsidian ruins, regular ruins. This thing will store fuel. Oh yeah, I'll definitely get one of those. Maybe we'll wait until after the next rebel assault. I think in this case, maybe we'll just we'll claim the obsidian ruins before I do anything else. The other thing that I could do in order to try and get the mining a little bit faster would be to claim credits from the council. The drawback is that at 10 influence, and especially with a few other ruins that I want to claim, I'm not entirely sure that's quite the way I want to go with this. I was debating about maybe converting activating this ruin, but it occurred to me that if I've got a fuel turbine, even if I put it here, and then I try to claim the zethane that's being generated from this inert ruin, I've got the same problem that I have with the mineral node. It kind of gets blown away. Well, but then it would be blowing into the fuel turbine, so maybe that's not a bad thing after all. Okay, I am going to activate this. And I think I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is to play this on the faster speed. Wrong group. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the isotope. Now, I will confess I'm a little surprised that I'm getting the full marker for minerals. I'm actually not too bothered by that. Hang on, do I have... I should have my... yes, my smokestack is up and running. Good. One thing I might want to do is just build another storage facilities for the minerals and isotopes. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. So I'll wait till we have those tier 2 minerals to work with, and then... Ooh! That was a dumb move. So I used tier 1 instead of tier 3, which is what I wanted. So this is just a little something for me to to store my minerals and isotopes from in a nice central location. Usually what I do is I put like a big mineral storage and a big isotope storage beside the mines, but it's clear it's going to take a while for me to get those up and running. So we'll build something a little more central. Now, if I want artifacts, I can claim this patch and mine it right away. The catch is that artifacts have a pretty significant value, and so one of the things that I'm trying to avoid here, we won't store waste there. This is just because we put waste in close to the smokestack. The worry here is that this will make the rebels more aggressive at a time where I'm actually trying to build the infrastructure to protect my holdings. So I may wind up putting a shipyard down here because I don't really think I need a roadway to directly access this, and I can put it sort of through the trucks. I can also sort of build it out and around too if I'm that concerned. But yeah, for now, okay. So I wanted to make sure that I upgraded the tier 1s as far as I could. Now what we're going to do is convert the 2s to 1s, and we'll shut down the 1s to 2s at least until we have a more regular source of isotopes. What's probably going to happen is I'm going to wind up dismantling this and putting it into and sort of rebuilding it over on this side of the map. But for now, I'm just waiting for this credits number to move up, and we need to let my people sleep. Selfish of them, I know, but we'll work with it. In principle, I could demolish this storage container. I don't really need to, though. What I am going to do, though, is destroy this waste receptacle. And I think I can only use this for fuel. So what I'll do here is, for batteries, I don't have the range, but I can put down a couple of fuel tanks, and remembering that that is something that's in line with my objective. Also, if I would like, I can build some more power, but I actually need more fuel than I need power, so we're just going to leave that, and we're going to leave that be. Okay, we've got our 80 points, so now we claim the Obsidian Ruins. Now, 3 artifacts isn't bad, but we really want this for the level 2 and level 3 isotopes, so that's generally I tend to find for the Obsidian Ruins. You can, in a pinch, use them for the artifacts, but it's largely, like, there's just simply more efficient ways to get artifacts. The Obsidian Ruins are quite costly, so... Hello, Edge Marion. That is actually an option in the game, in the tech web. Or at least there's I think it's energy drinks. But, although I think the energy drinks are for the workers, so... Okay, so I think I wanted to boost the mine range here, and that was just, on the chance. I don't think, again, I don't have the credits, although at the end of the day we will. I don't think I have enough to reach out to this isotope node. Now, if I do, that's great, and I'll build the mine right away. But my suspicion here is I'm going to need to spend a little bit more to extend out. I think what I'll do here is we'll wait for the 40 for this Obsidian Ruins as well, and then this will be the last ruins that I claim. Everything else is just kind of, a bonus. We just recently defeated rebels, so in this case I'm not that worried about the threat meter, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm being careful in terms of how I move, kind of move my resources around, because I'm not really... Like, it would have been nicer to have a more reliable source of isotopes, or at the very least a more reliable source of cash. So, for instance, one thing that I might want to do as an alternative is to just build another sort of work-from-home setup, like Glitch here. Now, I don't have a whole lot of places to put it. clearly putting it by the smokestack would not be a good idea. Although I suppose I could maybe stick it down here. Yeah, this isn't a bad spot for it now that I think of it, so... Unfortunately, this is a rather wasteful use of... Well, hang on. We'll wait till we pick up the tier 2 isotopes. I should have some workers that pick those up on their own. But yeah, essentially what I'm doing right now, I'm kind of paying for some decisions that I made that I think were kind of justifiable in the moment, but clearly there's a few things I could have, I maybe could have done differently to try and avoid these sorts of lulls. And actually, honestly, it's not that important for me to. I'll put down the. Okay, so we'll build the mine. Okay, this is interesting. So I think even with the +1 range, we're just shy of where we need to go. So I'm going to take another quick look at the tech web and make sure that there isn't anything that extends the HQ range as well. So influence cap, building repair cost, burrow cost, ship arrival time, research efficiency. Oh, there's the energy drinks, employee movement speed. Fuel requirement, pollution from fire, fire damage over time. Yeah, nothing that quite gets me where I need to go. So the extra range for the mine would be nice, but it's clear here that I'm going to need to build a command center if I want to expand. So that's what we're going to do. I probably don't have the power for it. No. So I'm also going to need to put down an energy pylon. Now, if I want, I can put one in the corner there, or I can just put it down by the empty plot. I think the empty plot makes as much sense as anything else. So we'll put one of those down. We'll also combine the factory. Again, this is kind of wasteful, but tier 3 is all that we have. And the main reason I'm doing this is so that I can get all of my... I can just get another stack of employees in and hopefully be able to turn that into some much-needed cash. In this case here, the lack of credits is what's preventing me from being able to buy the buildings, which will turn me into a stronger force. One good thing is that we'll be able to build the mine even with just a level 1 command center, and so what's nice about that is it's not necessarily going to prevent me from... So, like, I don't need to spend all of the isotopes to upgrade it all the way. I'm going to be able to get that... I'm going to be able to get that nice stream of isotopes on the way. How you doing, a real gamer? Well, we've got profits. We just need them a little bit faster. So, good news is I can make you happy in that regard. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to the normal speed for a little while so that I can put down the work from home setup. So start with tier 2s. I hope I got that right. All right, we've already used up my my minerals. So I'm gonna be a little sneaky on this one. I'm actually gonna go straight to the. Oh, does anybody want to name the new work or the new? Sorry. Does anybody want to name the new apartment buildings? It doesn't make anything. It's it houses my. It makes money, is what it makes. It houses my citizens, and they go to work. Oh, hang on. This is the wrong building. I want to go up to tier 2, and then I want to stop the tier 2 from being upgraded. So that'll free up a couple employees for a little while. Taxes or death. I'm gonna slightly adjust it. Okay, so basically, we've seen this setup before in Glitch, which is what a previous viewer had requested. So essentially what I do here is I combine the habitat pods. You can have 2 citizens per habitat pod, 1 citizen for each monetization station, so you can get a nice little setup here, hallway for them to walk through, and then enough power not just for this little grouping, but it lets me sort of have this outer perimeter too of habitat pods flanked by 2 monetization stations. So it's a nice little way of just kind of combining everything into a tight little package and make the most of the real estate. So first thing I'm going to do is get the power infrastructure down. Oops. Well, not all of it, but enough to get us going. Now you actually notice I believe this would be enough to cover all of the inner groups, but it doesn't cover the outer ring, which is why I do 2 sets of relays. And then from here we just put down the habitat pods, or the outer habitat pods, that is. I'm gonna need a few more tier 2 minerals to get these built. Shouldn't take us too long though. So, as far as the command center is concerned, we definitely have what we need to get to the isotope node. I actually don't necessarily mind putting this far away from the. The options here. So I could actually build this right beside the command center. There is something a little tempting about doing it that way, just in terms of a defense point of view, but I think I am just going to build, I think I'm going to build it the vanilla way, and I'll just be a little more careful in terms of how I set up turrets. So in this case, we'll claim the rocks and blow them up. I'm also going to have to build a highway, so we'll get those. Do I not have anyone working the... No, I do, just apparently my staff has decided they don't want to work on that. Fair enough. How you doing, Immortal Velity? Speaking of invading Carthage, it seems like Imperator Rome has quietly been abandoned. I know there was like the reshuffle at PDS, and they were moving some of the teams around. You know, just to be able to support other titles and all of that. But from what I understand, there's like 3 major teams at the development studio. sort of each of them responsible for like a major game. And I noticed that Imperator was conspicuously absent, so it's a bit of a shame. But obviously I haven't been doing Paradox stuff for a while, so I was actually really curious if Index Gnome was going to be around, because I know they were really looking forward to Victoria 3. Yeah, so that's just it. Like, the official line was always that that team would be back. And while there's never been sort of the official announcement that it's no longer a thing, it does sort of seem like they really haven't. Oh, you know what the funny thing is? It's entirely possible. So if I built the command center here, I might have actually been able to build this mine without. Although, good news for us, there is actually some goodies here. But yeah, I don't know. It's the difference just between, you know, like, this sounds hopelessly naive of me, but like, it is kind of nice to try and take people at their word when they say, you know, whether certain things are going to happen or not. And yeah, in this case here, like, obviously they said at the time that the team would return to it, and very clearly that didn't happen. So. Okay. I'm gonna buy another truck. I probably am not gonna get away with building a mine, but let's see. Holy smokes, I can. Okay, that makes things interesting. Because what I was originally going to do was put down a fuel turbine here. This is not a bad spot for it because it's sort of, it's surrounded by crevices. Huh. I think I'm still gonna get a command center down here. Okay. So I can do research efficiency is probably where I wanted to go for it. Oh man, there was an HQ range too. Alright, I really blew this. I mean, it's not terrible to have another command center, but like a lot of the upgrades that I just did were totally unnecessary. HQ range is useful for me though, so I'm gonna work on that. A nice steady stream of isotopes is not something to complain about either, so... although I may slightly adjust how I... I'm wondering if I build the pylon here. I guess it doesn't really matter. No, you know what? I am going to build the pylon there. Yeah, I guess I could do the... So there was a reason I built this. I want money. Okay, so this is all set up, and then what we do now... so remembering the special ability for my corporation is that it gains influence when it brings migrants in. It doesn't lose influence. There's going to be some big things that happen in the next little while. So one, we'll have more citizens making some money for me. Now that we've got a nice steady stream of isotopes, we're going to be getting the factories working a little bit more efficiently. Also, because I'm going to be able to do a bunch of upgrades as a result of all these improved isotopes and that, I'm going to be able to start building some more things like the conversion centers and such. So I'm actually wondering whether or not I want to spend that much time working on the minerals, given the fact that I kind of have more than I know what to do with. I will at least turn on the level 2 processor again and get people working on that. I'm eventually going to scrap this isotope line, but I don't need to do that right away. Got 1,000 credits, so I'm going to build a ship. Oh, that's right. The shipyard costs an arm and a leg. I think I'm going to wait it out, because that is a pretty important upgrade for me. And okay, that's a day or two of work. So the plan here is that I do want this to sort of be its own. I want this to be sort of its own little working environment. Like there's going to be a factory, there's going to be storage, and so on and so forth. I'll actually claim and dismantle these for a starter. So I'm leaving this open so that I can run a road through it if I have to. Same reason I'm leaving this area open. And the reason I'm building the pylon here is just it happens to, I'll eventually demolish this one, but by upgrading it, it should cover this little working area that I do as well as the command center, and it gives me the option of expanding out further if I decide to do that. How you doing, Algrins? What else do I want to do? Because I've got 39 influence. I could use, I guess I could get some more cash at this point because I don't really need, I mean, I can blow up some of the tiles, I suppose, but that's not really necessary right now. I guess we'll just save up for the artifact patch. I was deliberately not working that to avoid making the threat level go up too high. But at this point, it doesn't hurt. I bought that just so I don't have any surprises when the, when I do finally put down the shipyard. Okay, I'm gonna trust everyone gets their work done. Oh no! That was exactly what I needed. I guess I didn't have the storage space. Anyway, I'll let the workers do their thing. Good to hear. I actually had a surprisingly good day at work. So I was under the impression... So I had my mid-year review, which I was kind of under the impression was not going to be that great. And it's tricky because I actually did what I thought was quite a good bit of work. The problem was that it was also quite late in arriving, and I can make a case in terms of saying a comparable project wound up taking somewhere between 3 and 6 months longer with 2 sort of higher status, higher paid workers. But I also don't really like, to me, I never feel like that's a very good way of selling the work that you've done, right? Like, you don't necessarily want to be focusing on what other people are doing. You kind of want to be thinking about what you've brought to the table. And I don't think that comparable project should have taken that long. And so likewise for myself, I have a higher expectation. And then I'd also sort of taken a quick look at the sort of the form that was filled out. And there were some things that I was actually going to bring up as saying is like, I'm not really sure that this is fair. But I think it was based on the perception of the work. Like, I think basically people were wondering whether or not I was actually working, because so much of it was coding something up. And the thing is that the place I work is not a software place. It's it works very heavily with economics and sort of related subjects. And the coding is not that strong. So it's one of these things where, like, I was building this really, really big system, but it was one of these things where, like, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I can, like, show code, but, like, I could have written anything. There could be a letter to my grandmother in the, halfway through this thing. So, you know what? I'm going to cancel that. I am going to bring this to the highest level, just save myself the headache. But yeah, in any case, long story short, so, like, I was kind of expecting the worst, and, like, there was a side of me that sort of, while I was working on it, I'm really insistent for myself, like, not to compromise on standards for things. So, I sort of knew that I was potentially putting myself in the firing line a little bit on the time that it was taking. But I also sort of feel like delivering a mediocre product late sort of invites the question as to how all that other time was spent. Within reason, right? Like, you kind of need to it depends on the nature of the problem. But, like, in this case, I felt that doing it right was the right call. But anyways, long story short, like, yeah, it definitely was an example where the perceptions were very different from the reality, and actually it was a fine review. Like, there was a bit of discussion, and oddly enough, I was going to suggest it too, like, that there are some better ways to try and deal with the problem of, like, communicating the work that's happening, like, just maybe do smaller milestones or check-ins or something like that. But, like, that is a considerably more reasonable kind of, conversation than, what I was expecting to have, which was really to try and like justify and say, it's like, look, if I use any comparable, project done here, I'm one person. This thing had 2 high-level employees, and they did not deliver as good of a project. So I still have a lot on my plate. So, but the good news is that all of that is, like, personal stuff. So I'm going to be... There's a video that I need to do, and I need to get that done as soon as humanly possible. There's really no... Like, the best time for that is yesterday. And, like, it's all stuff that happened recently. Like, it's just, it just happens to be something that was done recently and has, a degree of urgency. And it would be nice if it didn't, but that, I got to deal with the world as it is, not as, as I'd like it to be. But there's that. There's the other just general YouTube stuff that I want to do. And I'm just trying to think. So there's a project I'm currently working on. There's going to be something for Titan that I want to do as soon as I possibly can. Yeah, so there's the thing I'm currently working on. There's the thing. Okay, so there's the thing I need to do very quickly, which is a one-off. There's going to be something Titan related, which I would like to do as soon as possible. There is a project I've sort of had on hold and want to do as soon as I can. And then there's a fourth one. I don't even know if people remember that I played this game. but I actually want to do some YouTube videos for that before I start streaming it again. So there's 4 separate things for YouTube. There's still a huge list of stuff that I want to do on the huge list of stuff that I want to do on Twitch, although I'm sort of banging down those goals. And then there's the personal projects. So like there's a bunch of data stuff that I've been wanting to do related to games, including some game forecasting, which I'm actually realizing some of the stuff that I wanted to do I was originally working on about a year ago, and it's been that kind of crazy as far as timings and all of that are concerned. But I guess the good news is that for all of the trouble that I've put in, it's all of the trouble and like all the effort that I've put into doing all of this stuff, like the work side of the equation is a little bit more balanced out, a little less intense. And so it's nice to be in a position where I'm going to be focusing on, my own personal stuff for a little bit longer. And Algren's, it's actually not as, there is a way of doing that in I think a reasonable way. So if it comes down to a question in terms of an assessment of performance, then you are actually within your rights to say, this is a comparable project. Here is what I've delivered. This is a comparable project. In terms of person hours, it took at least twice as much. In reality, it's more, right? Because it had 2 people and the and the extra time that it took. And the the people assigned to it, at least by the standards of the the employer, like the rating system and all of that, or the job title or whatever, are higher skilled, higher quality workers than me. Now, obviously, I don't believe that, but it is the workplace you're talking about, and it is an assessment of a performance. So at that point, if someone is saying that you didn't meet the expectations, then you can say, well, by comparison, here is a project that did very similar things, and I can talk about outcomes in that specific regard, because there are some pretty clear mappings that I can do. And just say, this is how long it took, this is how many people were assigned to it. I am, at this level, this is what I've delivered, and I did this in less time. And at that point, again, if you bring that out of the blue, then you're going to sound like you're complaining. If you do it in the context of performance assessments, that is definitely the sort of thing that you actually want to be really careful that you are actually doing the fair comparison on, because there is the danger that, again, people have misunderstood the nature of what's been happening, like the work that's been going on. So with that in mind, right, it's it's a context question, I guess is the best that I can say. How you doing, Vanguard Master? And yeah, I mean, again, it's not going to be a walk in the park in terms of doing the stuff that I want to do. It's just that it's nice that I try not to spend too much extra time working on work stuff. But like, the fact of the matter is that I also want to do I do want to do a good job at work. And so, it is definitely hard to focus on some of the streaming stuff and some of the other stuff, like basically the stuff to hopefully entertain at least some of you. Obviously, it's tricky to try and find some space for that if I'm so focused on on the work side of the equation. So it's sort of nice to have a bit of a reset, like just be able to get a little bit more breathing room for that. And I'm hoping that's going to translate into some good stuff. Okay, so I've got a couple of tier 2s ready to go. So this is going to be me starting to set up this factory. It's going to take me a while before this thing is actually ready to go, because I do need more workers. But that'll come sooner than you think. And I use tier 1. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter if I use tier 1s in this case. It will matter when I build the storage facility, though. I'll do that after I connect the factories. Okay, what else are we thinking of? So, got the isotopes up. That's eventually going to be my path to all of the upgrades. We're not quite ready for the, not quite ready to build the shipyard yet. I do eventually want to build a mine for the mineral node. Okay. It's very tempting to go for this employee limit. Let's go for the research efficiency first. The what's yours is mine. So, it's funny you should... I can't remember if I said, Andy Wynn, who is the designer on this, was, I believe, a level designer on Monaco What's Yours is Mine. So I was delighted to find out that Andy Wynn actually started off in a bank, because I worked in a bank for a while. And I'm like, comrade! But they, I believe, worked on Monaco What's Yours is Mine. And then they were designer on a really interesting real-time strategy game called Tooth and Tail. I actually think Tooth and Tail is about the closest anybody's gotten to being able to do a real-time strategy game that works for consoles. I could be wrong on that, but I really feel that like Tooth and Tail actually did some really interesting things. It was a fun game. It was really difficult at the start. I think they actually patched it to make it a little bit easier. But I was really interested in Tooth and Tail. I'll confess I never got all the way through, but I thought it might also have been the first collaboration between the designer and Power Up Audio, who also are working on Industries of Titan. I feel like there's probably other credits that I am forgetting about. But, I mean, to be fair, if I had credits like that, I'd be walking into every room that I go into just declaring, "Look upon me!" Yeah, no worries. I hope the campaign's going well. I haven't checked in on the GoFundMe lately, but I'm glad that I'm no longer apologizing to you for not giving you the feedback. Although now I'm like worrying that I dreamed giving you the feedback, and then and that I still owe it to you. No more donations lately. I'm sorry to hear that. I know you were talking about reaching out to publishers, so I don't know if that's still on it. Yeah, I know, you're just kidding. Actually, speaking of, I've been waiting for ages for a board game, and they keep promising that they're about to start shipping it. I need to take a look at that again. I'm thinking I got bamboozled on a Kickstarter. I may need to get up and get a glass of water and tea and all of that, because I am feeling a little... Talk to 2K yet? I think Vanguard may want to go with an indie label before. Okay, I think I'm going to turn off the second tier of isotope refining. If anything else, just because it frees up the workers. I think you mean Valve. Oh, goodness. So when we get to 100 influence, that's not a good thing. We should really be spending those points. So let's... Now I'm overcorrecting, but raw materials are never unwelcome. We're working on getting some more functionality first and adding more life to the world. One of the comments you saw on the campaign was, oh look, a massive world devoid of life, which is a fair assessment of the video I put out. That's because that's what you have 3 months in. That's actually a really interesting point. Like, these are the sorts of... This is why I was... like, obviously I can give some comments on writing. There are definitely better writers than me out there, but I feel like... Well, both I feel like, and I have been told, and I don't think it's entirely unfair, that I can, you know, if I really set my mind to it, I am capable of, you know, a turn of phrase now and again. This is also where I get a little cautious in terms of the types of feedback or advice that I give, because that's one of these things where that has nothing to do with the quality of the copy. But it's also clearly something that someone cared enough about to sort of tell you. And it's not something I necessarily would have thought of. And the tricky part is I actually also really like the way that you responded to that. Because like my reaction would be, I mean, give me a break, guys. Like, of course we're not going to put, you know, all of the animal life in the playable prototype. I want to make like something that's entertaining to play first. But I guess it does occur to me that what you're creating, I mean, as you said, like you went for something really ambitious. I'm not sure if that counts as like crazy and awesome or just crazy. I'm going to leave that to your determination. But I suppose if the way that you're financing your project is built around people's excitement of it, I guess that means that the project gets shaped in a different way than what you would do if, you know, you kind of sat down and spent the time sort of polishing something before it was, you know, it was going to show the world. So it is kind of interesting just to see how that stuff. You were thinking that, don't worry, but you took a few days. That's very good. Yeah, that's the one problem, which is that, like, especially because so much of your project relies on your ability to sort of build that community and such. You know, being able to, like, look at something that you think is kind of unfair and, you know, be able to sort of turn around and say, okay, here's the, you know, I'm going to talk myself off the ledge. I'm going to go punch the wall a couple of times, and then I'm going to write the reply. That is a very useful skill. One I could probably stand to learn, but... Okay, I don't know if this babbling or rambling is interesting to anyone. Here's what I'm going to do. You will all be able to listen to the wonderful sounds of Titan and its soundtrack. I'm going to keep it on the slow speed. And I'm going to walk over and I'm going to get myself some tea and some water. I'll actually put the kettle on. Then I'll get the tea once it's boiled. But yeah, I'm going to be away from the keys for a little bit. Talk amongst yourselves. Tell me what you're most excited about for Industries of Titan and how many copies you're going to buy for yourself and all your streamer friends. Back in a moment. Okay, this is going to be the silliest aggression ever, but I got a very large amount of straight up Earl Grey and sort of a green tea equivalent to Earl Grey some time back. It served me well, but like I am finally kind of getting close to the end of it. And there's a grocery store that I normally go to. And they had a sale on some tea. So I was like, okay, I don't know how good this is, but I am getting a little old. I am a little old. I'm probably getting a little old, but I'm getting a little low, and so I did not have like a midlife crisis in that grocery store. That was just a Freudian slip. But yeah, I'm getting a little low on the tea, so yeah, okay, let's try and see what I can find here. So again, a simple little a good black tea, a green tea is like a couple bucks for each of them. So it's like we'll see where this is going. But when I was in the UK, I had heard of this brand but never tasted it. I think it's called, is it Harrods? It's also like a luxury department store, I thought. But anyways, it's the Yorkshire brand. And I'd actually found out that Patrick Stewart, despite the rather famous, his famous character that he played, Luke Skywalker, always wanting tea Earl Grey hot, he's particularly fond of a brand called, it's the Yorkshire brand, but he specifically mentioned Yorkshire Gold is apparently his favorite. So I wasn't like, I don't kind of go out of my way to find that particular type of tea, but it was the first time I'd actually gotten a chance to drink the Yorkshire brand in the UK. It's tasty enough. I mean, tea is tea, right? I actually had the terrifying experience. So everyone in the UK seems to drink it with milk, which is madness to me. Like, I always have black tea. Well, I mean, green tea too, but like I have it without milk. So when somebody asked me to make the teas, I'm like, my God, I may poison them. But I did an okay job apparently. But yeah, anyway, so I'm pretty happy with any tea that I have. But yeah, Yorkshire was fine. I'll take that. So when I was, some of you got a chance to see The Walk, but it turns out there was the same grocery store. So basically there is a grocery chain in Canada called Loblaws, and essentially what it is like it's like the Industries of Titan of bakeries. So Loblaws has it's merged with a company called Shoppers Drug Mart. And it's owned by, I think Weston is the parent company. Anyway, so like it started off as this like one bakery, and it just kept growing and growing, and it bought more and more bakeries. And then, it branches out, and then it owns a few different grocery chains. So I never saw Loblaws in Western Canada, but they also own two or three major chains. And those are Real Canadian Superstore. I'm like 99% sure you've seen Real Canadian Superstore, Vanguard Master, based on where you are. I could be wrong, but then No Frills is another that they own. And then, amusingly enough, there is a franchise called Independent Grocers, which clearly is not independent, but they own that as well. So anyways, there's like them, Metro, Safeway are like the major like kind of grocery stores in Canada. And like obviously you can get groceries at Walmart, and then we have Whole Foods and stuff like that. But when you just sort of like I don't know, like I don't really think of Whole Foods in the traditional grocery store sense, right? Like they're sort of in a league of their own. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in Eastern Canada, it's a bigger thing. Wait, Eastern Europe? Maybe it's a different metro then. Oh, kettle's boiling. I'll be back. Oh, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't tend to go into the lot. Like I tend to go in the like low rent. um, I'm pretty sure Metro is different in Europe than it is Canada, but I guess I should take a look into it. But anyways, yeah. So I don't actually see too many Loblaws. Took a step in when when the system walk was done, and I did verify that the library was in fact closed. Um, and they had Yorkshire tea. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll pick up a box. I was happy enough with that in the UK. I was actually I did a taste test between like the presidents. Oh yeah, sorry. So the reason why I talked about this like this bakery that kind of wound up eating all the grocery stores in Canada. Also, there was like a bread price fixing scandal with them some time ago, but that's a separate story. Um, the the there's a few like store brands that they have. So there's the No Name brand, which is like has these really familiar yellow boxes, and they're sort of like the cheap version of things. Um, then there's President's Choice, which is sort of their, that's the thing they actually want you to buy. And then there is there's actually a couple of branches. So then there's like the President's Choice Blue Label, and that's sort of their health conscious one. So like, I don't know, if you want a soup that actually has, actual ingredients inside of it as opposed to salt, you can get the blue label version, and like almost all of their fish is blue label because apparently fish is just always healthy for you no matter what. So just put that in that batter, and it's basically like eating a salad. Yeah, and President's Choice is also the brand. They've partnered with one of our banks, CIBC, which I always like to call the Canadian bank most likely to run into a sharp object. And they also have a credit card and bank. So I mean, at this point, like, I think the one thing that they don't do, like, they have a mobile shop, but they don't actually have a telecom plan. But yeah, like they try to get you for everything now, basically. And they've also tried to do this black label. So I do actually have one President's Choice black label product, and it's bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. That's because I got some Belgian waffles, and by God, I was not going to have any maple flavored pancake topping. No! There is one ingredient for maple syrup, and it's maple syrup. Anyways, there was something that Vanguard Master wrote before. But yeah, anyways, long story short, so I had a President's Choice branded tea before, tried that beside the Yorkshire. That wasn't bad, but it turns out that at my regular grocery store, now they have Yorkshire Gold. So I'll be able to do a taste test of President's Choice, Yorkshire Gold, and I'm hoping that I can save $1 and just say that I prefer the Yorkshire tea. Okay, so We also wanted to run the ads for 10 days, 50 euros a day, but you cut it off after 4 days. We weren't getting enough back for the amount that you were putting in, and half the comments you were getting were negative Nancy's making fun of the fact that all you have is a walking simulator. It was nice to see a few people come out in defense and say, hey guys, it's an indie dev with only 3 months of dev time, cut them some slack. There were also a few people who gave what you felt were constructive criticism. So yeah, back to working now. That's, yeah, I mean, so to a certain extent, like, for my ego, I'm happy that they weren't complaining about the ad copy. But yeah, that's got to be, I'm sorry to hear that you didn't get the response you were quite looking for in terms of the audience. So I'm glad that you can kind of keep a stiff upper lip on that, because I think at that point I'd just be like despairing and be like, I don't know what I'd do, to be honest. Maybe I'd plug ahead. Canadian that did not have Maple. Oh, no. Yeah, we get the same stuff that the US does, right? Like, there's not everything that you get, not every pancake topping here is necessarily going to be maple syrup. Okay. Anyways, the tea is steeping. I've almost completely drank all of the water. We have finished scientific preparation, so let's find another thing to research, and then we can start building warships and otherwise getting this run back on track. Definitely boosting the employee limit. Now, I am going to need to get some more fuel and energy. How is the... Okay, so I need 24 for both. This is going to be a bit hair-raising. I'm going to upgrade the energy plant. Prioritize that. And the fuel turbine. I really hope I've not consigned myself to a power outage. And I guess I don't really need the tier 2. I mean, I'll turn on this production line, but probably stopping the drain on my resources rather than increasing it is probably the right call right now. Okay, now, I've got 1.5k, so it'd be nice to build a higher level ship, although the one I really want costs 7,000, so if I want, I can build the Skua. Why not? Okay, yes, they are building all of this in time. Although for some reason the fuel turbine got upgraded before the... Alright, well. And again, the difference here, so the reason why I like upgrading these whereas I built a second apartment building is because these require employees to run. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm getting the most energy generation sort of per employee before I start building additional sort of fuel turbines and energy plants. So I've got a little bit of flexibility now. If I need, I can also build another floor of generators. Okay. I guess I need to plan out. So I think I only get 2 weapons on this one. I can go for small lasers. Probably mediums where I want to go. So let me work out the energy here. So that's 2 energy, so 4 energy. Life support is 5. We can go by without Okay, so minimum 5. Okay, so medium generator and a small fuel fabricator should see us through. Am I missing some? Oh, right. No, that's fine. I intended all of this to be temporary, but I might be locking myself into some choices here. So that's generating 4 fuel. That needs 2, so we're fine for the power generation. I guess at this point it's really just a matter of putting in the crew pods. Okay, crew pods are taken care of. I don't want to go too crazy with batteries and fuel tanks and all of that, but I do want to make sure at least some of that's being addressed. Okay, I'm liking how that's looking. And then the last step will be to add a fuel tank or 2. Yeah, I think I can live with that. It's a little close to the power generator, I'll confess, but so I like, it's nice to have it's nice to have something like this, but it's worth remembering that I'm losing 3 employees as a result, and I don't really have a way of generating new ones. So I want to be a little careful in terms of how many sort of fighters I'm scrambling before I although, I mean, I guess I can start making the conversion centers now. So I want to have a road going out this way. I guess this is good enough for a conversion center. This would work as well, but I need to buy one first. Okay. Yeah, I think we're probably well past the point of working on my base level of employees. I really should have been expanding that out a little bit sooner. Also, unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to my influence, so I've got a big surplus I want to work down. Not the most efficient use of my influence, but I don't exactly need the raw materials anymore. Okay. We are back on track.
Device complete.
So the plan now, how am I doing for tier 2 minerals? Okay, I'm gonna take this building. I can make some more isotopes. Tier 3 is actually something I kind of need now, so we'll carry on as before. But I am going to I'm going to turn off the tier 3 line for minerals for a little while. And that's because I could use some tier 2 minerals just to make a few little extras for the production lines in the isotope factory. Which incidentally, if anybody has an isotope factory name, I will be happy to take suggestions for that. Okay. We can use this to store fuel now because we'll have a ship to defend. And then I think I said at some point I was going to put down a fuel turbine. I forgot that we did expand our HQ range, so I'm curious if I'm going to be able to put down a mine now. Jeez. This wasn't exactly what I was going to do, but if I put the fuel turbine down like this, I can put the mine down like this. It does save me the trouble of building a command center, but why is it bad to build a command center, right? Like maybe that's something I want to do. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out after I get employees. Okay, that's the first construction center up, or conversion center up. How is their battery doing? Okay, all the batteries are charged, so... You know what? We can build another one of these. Because it's all about the minerals, right? I can build the blueprint after the fact. I'm making an executive decision on this one. Okay, sorry, we got two conversion centers. So yeah, I just wanted to combine these before I started training new employees. You're seeing, like, the fact that we asked for these ruins to be cleared out, and the fact that ruins are still at the top of my list, that kind of gives you an idea of how desperately we need workers. We have exactly one free worker trying to deal with everything here. So, in fact, with that in mind, I'm going to prioritize the conversion center for that very reason. Now, again, I don't have a good answer in terms of how I'm going to handle the... I don't have a good answer in terms of how I'm going to handle the pollution for my citizens. I still kind of need to think about that, because in terms of where I can put all of these buildings, as far as where the pollution's going, right? Maybe over here. Definitely can't put anything in this area. And this was clear, but if I'm going to put a mine in here, then... Although maybe... Oh, actually, that's a really interesting idea. So maybe what I do... maybe I've been thinking about this the wrong way. So if I take my mine and I put it over here... Yes, I've got sort of smog that's blowing over the city, but like I can dismantle Glitch and I can dismantle Death or Taxes. And then that frees up this whole area sort of to the west for housing developments. I wasn't thinking of that, but that might actually be an interesting way around this problem. We'll see, though. Again, I don't need to commit to have... Well, actually, I guess the one question I need to answer is, can I get a road? It doesn't look like I can actually get a road through this. So no, I am going to have to build a mine in this area. It was a cool idea for a couple seconds. Okay, now we've got our conversion center. Can actually probably even upgrade it again. We'll tell you what, let's get the conversions out of the way first. We need artifacts for that, so I think the time has come for us to start mining out. Mining out the artifacts. But yeah, we're going to convert as many people as we can. That means we also bring in more migrant ships when the time comes, and we'll be able to get a little bit more progress in terms of our city corp. So you can see this rebels are getting really annoyed with us right now, but it was foretold in the prophecy. More importantly, we should have a, well, okay, it's not as big of a stack as I thought of tier 2, but I am finally going to be able to make my isotope chains. So as before, we try to make the most of the resources we have. In this case, tier 2s for all of the components except the basic one here. Now, this is going to be dedicated to isotopes. So there's going to be a tier 1 to tier 2, tier 2 to tier 3, and then a tier 1 to tier 2 on the other end here. We may not necessarily have the energy for it, but I always like saying that's a tomorrow me problem, because it's not that hard to... It's not that hard to sort of build more energy if that's the thing that's holding me back. But what I want to do here is get at least one production line going without too much fuss, because then I can dismantle the one in the that I've got set up closer to the center. And as you can see, we've run out of tier 2 minerals, so let's see what's going on there. I actually don't have a good answer for what's going on there. I'll let them do their thing. Okay. Working on the conversions. We've got lots of spots for employees. Now, it is worth noting that there is a certain amount that I need to pay them as well. Like, I don't get an infinite number of employees without cost. But for now, I want to focus on getting this number as close to or at 45 as I can. Because that basically just means I'm going to be able to build stuff faster. The faster I build stuff, the more flexible I can be in terms of getting, like, if I have a big workforce, it's not that difficult for me to build a bunch of, death or taxes equivalent apartments, or, residential office areas. Like, there's just a bunch of different things that I can do to make that a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, that the fuel turbine goes here. Well, again, the question is it such a bad thing for me to have like a mine on the other side? Maybe the answer is to just build a command center. It's going to take power though, and I'm going to need a lot more isotopes for that. So maybe we leave that be for now. So I'm going to need 180 isotopes before I do this, because I need to upgrade the energy plant and the fuel turbine at the same time. Otherwise, I don't have enough fuel to run everything. Still making money, although again my population's lower than it normally is. And how are we for tier 2? Okay, getting a little better. So again, the idea here is I just want to be able to build my production lines to what... essentially right now I want to focus on recreating what I already have. And then the second phase is going to be expanding, but I need sort of the workforce to be able to do that. Close. So one more tier 2, but we can dismantle the old line now, or at least as close as we can get. So we'll wait till the outputs reconstruction is done, and then we can start dismantling the employee slots. This is a bit less of a draw on our energy, which is nice. It's a little foolish for me to start dismantling the waste receptacles and such too, but I think it's actually not a bad idea for me to prepare for a case where we're properly shutting this all down. There's obviously a bunch of cleanup that's going to be happening, but the other nice thing about this is going to free up a lot of tier 2 resources for me. And at some point I'm going to need to figure out what I do with these generators and fuel fabricators, but I think I'm just going to have to sit on that for a little while. Finally, I don't need these relays, so these can go as well. In fact, I think we can safely get rid of all of these storage. Hey, Takri, thank you very much for resubscribing. I hope you had a nice stream. Also, thank you for being such a tolerant chat partner. I don't think I quite appreciated how much of your time I took up. Speed ran 5 days of Inktober. Well done. That reminds me, actually, I'm still going strong. I had a little bit of a scare in terms of my my streak for writing when I was in the UK, just because, again, like, when you're on holiday, you don't... Well, it wasn't really it was working. I was probably working more than holiday, if I'm completely honest, but But yeah, I was a little worried that I was gonna break the sort of the streak that I had going, but I was able to preserve it. But yeah, I still need to get today's done because I was prepping a bunch of other stuff. But yes, your dedication to your art is definitely something that's kind of driving me to make sure that I... Actually, what I say is, well, if Decree can do it, then surely I can. Obviously, your dedication to your art is something I need to emulate. Okay, this is looking good. So basically, I am taking up another employee doing this, but what this is going to do is this is going to make sure that I'm not just generating tier 3 materials, but I'm also generating a nice steady stream of tier 2s for those cases that I need them. And then I also have room for a waste receptacle, which is pretty nice. Yeah, so I slightly loosened my... Okay, so there's two things that happen. So maybe for the benefit of those who don't know, because obviously this is not Titan related at all. But there was a time in the summer where I sort of reflected on how I was spending my time in general, and the things that sort of make me happiest, and the things that I was actually spending my time on. So again, I don't want to sound too much of a sad sack as far as Twitch is concerned or something like that, but I've been pretty consistent in terms of my streaming schedule. Obviously, the start times have been wavering a bit lately, and this is just a function of, you know, all of the work that I'm doing and, you know, and all of that. But like, in terms of missed days, like, I'd say last week is the first time I had planned to stream and missed a broadcast outright in a very, very long time. And even then, like, that's almost like getting sick. Like, sometimes you're just physically incapable of doing something. And, like, if I'm unconscious because of jet lag, you know, that's maybe a little bit more understandable. So, the thing is, though, is that as much as I love streaming and all of that, it's also fair to say that it's one of these things that, like, knowing the audiences that I've pulled on Steam and other related things, like, is one of these ones where I'm sort of, you know, like, it's sometimes a mixed feeling. I don't necessarily want to say I'm unhappy streaming, but there can be some points of frustration just in terms of being like, you know, I feel like I maybe should be doing a little bit better than I actually am, or I don't know. It's a hard one to articulate without sounding kind of too full of myself or ungrateful or that. And again, like, please don't think that I obsess about, like, viewer numbers or anything like that. If anything, one of my favorite criticisms, I guess, is when people make fun of the channel for not having a lot of people watching it, because I don't know, like, it's just one of those things which I understand why some people might be bothered by that, but it's actually not something that I rate all that highly. Like, there are other things about streaming that I find worthwhile, and I think there are other measures of success which are relevant and probably are a little bit closer to the sorts of things that I want to do. But anyways, where I was going with all of this was more to focus on the idea. I think because I'm at the max, I'm going to start by clearing out the rocks and blowing them up, and then I can start getting some credits and such. Speaking of credits, let's buy the last of the buildings just so I can say I have them. Are we in a work cycle? Yes, we are. So we are 9:51. I don't want to stiff my employees. I actually need to convert them, so yes, we do need to pay. But in any case, sorry, where I was going with all of this was just to sort of say, the one thing that has not bothered me about not having a wider audience is my writing. And in fact, I like writing full stop, and it's something that I was maybe a little alarmed at how I was saying that I like writing a lot more than I was actually doing it, because it was also one of those things I noticed I kept pushing aside. And I sort of said to myself that, like, okay, so I can make all this time for streaming, and yet for some reason this thing that, like, does not provide any kind of mixed joy, that is unambiguously something that I enjoy doing, I can't find the time for that. That doesn't seem right. So I sort of finally said, okay, well, now's the time for me to, now's the time for me to, like, properly sit down and do this. And one consequence, I really need to get some more people in here. Like, one thing that, one way that I kind of chose to work with that was just to sort of say, it's like, okay, no matter what, I am going to sit down and make sure that I do some amount of writing. And, like, I've sort of set a bit of a timer for myself in terms of how long I would spend on it. Because, again, the idea here is that if I can be dedicated enough to do streaming on a regular basis, surely I should be able to find the time for writing. And there's a couple of articles which I'm happy with. In fact, an article from a writer whose opinion I respect a lot, and they've done articles in gaming press as well as, they're better known for their fiction. Cree may know who it is, actually. Said something very nice about one of the articles that I wrote, which was nice. And again, like, the important thing about this is actually not that I get the praise from people, because, again, the thing that is nice about writing for me is that it's the thing that I know, even if I don't do it, or so even if nobody sees it, the fact that I've done it is the source of the satisfaction. And so this is why I wanted to make sure that, much like streaming, right, there have been times where I don't necessarily feel like, some gift to broadcasting, but I'll still do the broadcast anyway. I think there's value in just sort of, like, showing up for work and just getting the job done, right? So it was the Unity article on John Riccatello, if you haven't read that one, by the way. But yeah, needless to say, that was a compliment that made me very, very happy. But yeah, so anyways, the thing is that, like, I've still been acting as if I'm in the build the habit phase, and it's very clear that I've moved on, and I'm in a different scenario where, if anything, now I actually maybe need to spend a little bit more time fueling the creativity and doing the sorts of things that give me things to write about. Because I've noticed I've never really been... Sorry, this is going to sound smug as hell, because I know this is actually something that people struggle with, but I actually don't really feel that I've struggled with writer's block in the way that you will hear people talk about writer's block. What I think is true for me is that there will be times where I feel like I don't necessarily know what to write about, or I'm struggling to write. Oh, I worked myself into a corner here. I should have thought about my artifacts, because I can't do any research now. I've researched everything. My bad. But I've always sort of felt that writer's block is a function of a lack of research on my part. If I haven't put the time into researching something, I am much more likely to experience the sort of things that people talk about when they talk about writer's block. And when I have been reading things, sometimes watching, but I do prefer to read. Prefer to read if it comes to, like, things that I find inspiring. That it just happens to be that, for whatever reason, if I'm reading something, it tends to get the ideas flowing a little bit more. Usually when I'm watching stuff, it's not that I'm watching passively. I think probably the articles that I've written on movies kind of indicate that I'm usually a pretty active watcher. But I guess the thing is that I usually kind of wind up being in awe of the craft most of the time, and so as a result, I don't quite find that as much of a source of inspiration. Whereas if I'm reading, I'm a little bit more. I guess I feel a little bit more in thinking mode, for lack of a better term. Anyway, sorry. This is really I'm making a meal out of this anecdote. So, actually, let me bring up the Excel sheet. I'm curious. Sorry, I know this kills the audio, but so one of the ways that so again, like the first part of the first part of this was to build a habit for myself. And so with that in mind, I would have a minimum amount of writing that I need to do. There'd be no upper limit, but like the minimum would have to be a certain amount of time spent on writing. So the first day I recorded was June 15th. I should have remembered that actually, because the 1 month mark was a nice little gift I gave to myself. My birthday is July 15th. So I actually didn't write that much on July 15th, it turns out. That was one of my my lower, it's not my lowest day, but definitely compared to the day before, it was a lower amount. But yeah, but since June, that's been going strong. So I'm over I guess, well over a quarter now of consistent writing every single day. And the one thing is I actually don't know, like when I've been hearing people talk about writing, I don't actually hear a lot of people say it's like, yes, I grind it out every single day without breaks, right? People take weekends, people recharge, people who not only I respect, but actually I notice have very similar patterns to me. Don't talk about just this eternal grind. And so there's a side of me that says it might not be a bad idea to take some time to recharge, particularly because I noticed that my, the output, you'll notice that there haven't been as many blogs lately. And part of that's because some of the stuff I've been writing, I haven't been as happy about, and I feel like it needs a little more polish. And so that's maybe an indicator to me that, this served its purpose, but maybe I need a little bit more of a little bit of a broader view as to what that means. Because clearly the problem of like finding the time and making the time isn't the problem anymore. But there are a couple things. So one thing that I love about having a spreadsheet to keep me on it, like again, it was to keep me honest as far as just actually having a tangible, like a tangible result, something that I would like put down and say, yes, I did the good thing. But the other thing that's neat about this is because I'm a data guy, very data driven. I have summary statistics, so I can tell you that I count words per minute, and this was very telling because I think in terms of like writing, if I'm just going like full bore, if I'm transcribing something, if I'm on a roll or whatever, I can type at something like 80, 90 words per minute. But when I'm writing new words like essays or at least one of you in chat knows that I actually finally have, okay, I shouldn't say actually finally have a fiction idea. I have lots of fiction ideas. I just never really turn them into anything because I don't really think fiction's my thing. But I do actually have a fiction idea I want to turn into a story. I don't have an ending, and I think the reason I don't have an ending is because I've focused a lot more on a concept rather than a character. And in the end, the reason why endings are satisfying is because your character has set out to achieve something, and they've sort of learned something about themselves, or they've brought about this ending because of some feature of themselves. So again, if I don't know this character very well, it makes sense that I'm sort of floundering a bit on the ending, because in the end, I don't really know what this person wants or needs. But we'll see. But yeah, anyways, looking at my words per minute was very telling. So my minimum was 8.03 words per minute, and that was on August 22nd. Oddly enough, here's the weird part. The day before it and the day after were two standard deviations above my average, which was weird. But my fast, actually, I might have even had my best day. No, I didn't. Okay. But yeah, my max words per minute so far has been 42.81 words per minute. Again, this is new words per minute over the writing period. Mean of 1769 and median of 1720. I was wondering if there were like big outliers that were pushing that out, but the mean and the median are pretty close. Actually, it's weird. If you look at it, it looks like a Poisson distribution. It's really cool. With a standard deviation of about 6 words per minute. Index gnome, you make an infographic over the time you spend working. Stats. Yeah, isn't it? Like, if you're wired this was the way that I really like tricked myself into regularly writing, is that once you're able to start manipulate some numbers and learn a little bit about like how you're doing and come up with metrics. Like I'm probably not going to turn this into like a Power BI dashboard or something like that, but you know, it's got a little fun to mess around with it. So like if I had like, let's say, you know, a target would be a 750 word article, which is like a throat clearing for me. Like I know based on these stats that it would take me at most about specifically 93.36 minutes. If I were to do it at, you know, my maximum rate, it would be 17 and a half minutes, 17.52 specifically. And then the mean and the median, the mean time 42.41 and median 43.6. So, you know, about 3/4 of an hour to knock out a 750 word article in terms of new words. Now, again, there's a revision process and stuff like that, but it's kind of fun. Now, Index Gnome, I was meaning to ask you, you've already had one crashing disappointment. I've seen mixed things about Victoria 3. I'm not going to play it because screw Paradox, but did you at least get one gift this year as far as quality gaming? Or have you just been burned enough that you're like, I'm going to wait for a few patches? And Takri says you could like set a goal like so many months going strong as a reward, take a few days off. Yeah, I mean, what I would like is just to be able to be honest enough with myself to say it's like I am taking time off because I need to recharge, and this is part of the creative process. I know that by taking this time, I'm going to come back with the material that I'm going to be writing next, because it is a little bit easier to write when you have a particular goal in mind. So I would like to get myself to a point where I feel confident in my ability to do that. But it's also very scary if you think that you might shirk. So part of it is just learn. So like one thing is that I've actually really liked the process of writing every day. So that's a nice place to be. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, like I don't want to take a break just for the sake of taking a break. So for the most part, I've just been writing because I want to write. But I am also recognizing that I'm probably at a point now where it wouldn't hurt for me to think about, you know, it wouldn't hurt to sort of think about how I make it so that every day of the rest of my life is not spent banging out, you know, a certain fixed number count for the words or whatever. Okay, we've got the artifacts that we need to be able to unlock part of the tech web. So get trade tickets, tempting. We're doing okay for waste, so I won't worry about that. Yeah, the trade tickets are very tempting. Spaceport storage isn't a bad idea too. I don't think the fuel requirement's quite going to help us here, because right now we just have the one plant, and we're probably going to need to wait a while on that. And we don't have 3 artifacts, so let's make it a trade ticket. Okay. What to do? I've got more than enough as far as tier 2 minerals are concerned. Oof, that's a lot of tier 1 minerals to give up. Let's take a look at our goals. Okay, so fuel stockpiling's good. Clear 7 resource patches. Possess 4,500 CUs and minerals. That will kind of work on our own. Definitely want to build science labs soon. And we will be on our way to destroying a rebel HQ, but I probably need a stronger ship for that, so I'm gonna hold off for now. So yeah, I guess the question is, what's the next step here? Well, you know what? Let's so first of all, let's just take a look at the workforce. Yeah, so we've got 29 free workers. I think we can get our second isotope line up and running. I don't exactly need it, but I'm in a good enough spot that I might as well. Again, it doesn't hurt to. I can set it up and then just turn it off if I feel like it's it's a big drag on resources. Okay, so obviously I'm going to need to wait a little bit for the minerals to come in, and of course there's going to be another line of these for minerals in the end too. Journalistic writing and creative writing are not the same. Yes, definitely true. One is fact-driven, so spitting out fiction is limited by the amount of inspiration, but journalistic writing is based on information gathered. So I can only speak to my own experience. Some of the best... okay, now in fairness, nothing that I've been doing probably counts as journalism, but I think it's fair to say most of the stuff that I do is fact-driven. And I will actually say that inspiration actually plays a really big part in at least where I've gotten this stuff from. Because like in the end too, like when I think of a lot of some of my favorite, okay, let me give you what I think is a good example here. Politics in the English Language by George Orwell. That is, I think, an excellent essay. I think it is very clearly fact-driven, and I think it's very clear that Orwell did his homework in writing that essay. But I also think that that particular essay would be impossible if he was not really pissed off about something. And, like, being pissed off is also a source of inspiration. I was wondering why that was moving so slowly, and it just occurred to me it's because... it's because I don't have it on fast mode, or at the third speed. So I like to a certain extent I agree with what you're saying there, but I will also say in my own experience I actually have noticed like the problem I was trying to solve before was the problem I was trying to solve by doing that spreadsheet was the fact that when I was writing, I was only writing when, quote unquote, I felt inspired. And it is true that, you know, inspiration has this weird habit of showing up once you actually, you know, park your backside down into the chair. Some days are definitely better than others, and I would be lying if I said that the best stuff that I've done in my own assessment is definitely the product of those days where I'm like really feeling it. But clearly, like it is clear as well. Like, so the first paid writing that I've done was a product of that period as well. And so I think it's also fair to say that, you know, putting the time in has been it. But the other thing that's fair to say too, like in terms of creative writing, like one of the other big factors for me, one of the reasons, if you've noticed, I've been referring to Russian short stories a lot more. It's because I'm reading Russian short stories. I've specifically gone out of my way to be reading more fiction because my natural inclination is to read nonfiction. There's just a whole hell of a lot of it, and it's all very, very interesting. So, you can read about the Marshall Plan one day, and then you can read about my UK reading, the laying of the first transatlantic cable, telecommunications or telegram cable. Like, fascinating stuff. There's let me see if I can find the exact Neil Stephenson quote on this, because I actually think he has a wonderful way of putting it. Oh, come on. It's from his he did a huge Wired article called Mother Earth, Mother Board. But oh, cool. I'm at a 1,000 day reading streak on Apple Books. I didn't realize that. As you can see, I'm an absolute sucker for gamification, so but yeah, anyways, like, again, it's just a natural thing. I love fiction. Like, Hitchhiker's Guide, love it. Snow Crash, love it. Unbearable Lightness of Being. Just so you know, I don't only read science fiction. Unbearable Lightness of Being is wonderful. There's all sorts of wonderful things that you can read. But again, because there's a lot of history and there's a lot of facts and things that have happened, it can be very easy to get trapped in a situation where you're only reading nonfiction. And again, that can be interesting in its own way, but I think particularly because a lot of the creative writing, I tend to I don't know, like I suffer from not thinking about character enough. It would probably be better for me to spend a little bit more time, I don't know, like seeing how really good writers have done character, basically. And for you, Vicky Therese, empty shells, you felt, I'm sorry to hear that. And don't mean to exclude one or the other completely. Most of the stuff would be a mix of the two, not every new. Yeah. No, that's completely fair too. And I certainly did not intend to make you sound like you're making a really reductive point. I just, it's also, to me at least, useful to talk about my own experience, because it may or may not line up with other people's experience of creative process. You don't usually like nonfiction, not even a lot of realistic fiction. You want to escape. That's really interesting to read. Yeah, I can't. I seem to not be able to get enough of it. So sorry, I really want to see this. This shouldn't be that hard. Okay, here we go. So this is a 1996 article from Neil Stephenson, written for Wired, called Mother Earth, Mother Board. I believe you can find this for free online. I'll read the preceding. Animal Farm is still one of my favorite works you've read over the years. Were you here when I read that? I definitely wouldn't do it justice to, I think, anybody's individual reading of it, but Animal Farm's wonderful. I feel like it deserves a little more respect. Like, obviously, when you hear people talk about Orwell, people talk about 1984 a lot more than they talk about Animal Farm. And I think it's just because Animal Farm is set up as like a fairy story. But it's a lot better than I feel like people should. It's a lot better than I feel it gets credit for. And obviously it's a respected book, but like I feel like it should be spoken of in the same terms as 1984, and I really don't feel like it's quite got the respect that it deserves. Anyways, so this is from Mother Earth Motherboard. Still, telegraphy, like many other forms of engineering, retained a certain barnyard improvised quality until the year of our Lord 1858, when the terrifyingly high financial stakes and shockingly formidable technical challenges of the first transatlantic submarine cable brought certain long-simmering conflicts to a rolling boil, incarnated the old and new approaches in the persons of Dr. Wildman Whitehouse and Professor William Thomson, respectively, and brought the conflict between them into the highest possible relief in the form of an inquiry and a scandal that rocked the Victorian world. Thomson came out on top with a new title and name, Lord Kelvin. Everything that has occurred in Silicon Valley in the last couple of decades also occurred in the 1850s. Anyone who thinks that the wild-ass high-tech venture capitalism in the late 20th century California phenomenon needs to read about the maniacs who built the first transatlantic cable projects. I recommend Arthur C. Clarke's book, How the World Was Won. The only things that have changed since then are that the stakes have gotten smaller and the process more bureaucratized and the personalities less interesting. Now, in fairness, in 1996, Elon Musk might have been active, but he certainly wasn't active on Twitter. But even with the 2022 amendment, I actually think that that is a very fair assessment of the state of the world. Like, I am reading How the World Was Won, O-N-E, and this is absolute insanity in a book. Like, I am thoroughly entertained by some of the shenanigans involved in the laying of the first transatlantic cable. Slightly horrified, but that's part of the fun. So, also, I am convinced that the Victorians are possibly of some other species. Like, it's hard to believe that they're human beings. They're like, something has happened to humanity between now and the Victorians. Maybe they're just like always on cocaine. Maybe that was an explanation. I don't know, but Victorians, man, crazy. Okay, let's. Yeah, no need to complicate it. I actually think I need to give a presentation on telecom at work at some point. I'll probably use that quote at some point. I'll put a couple of waste receptacles in. Still doing okay for energy, so that's not bad. We'll see what happens when all those relays turn on, I suppose. I've also just kind of been wasting time a little bit, waiting for the threat level. Also fair to say, I probably need to figure out what I'm doing with my influence. So let's start by... I'm going to start by spending money, and then I'll buy money. Oof! I was not thinking that through. So we are not going to be able to convert. We'll live. Okay. Enemy attack coming soon. We're able to defend wherever we need. I'm probably going to want to put down another shipyard at some point, but let's maybe get the mineral node built. Okay, yeah, no, I know exactly how I'm gonna... Okay, so here's the order in terms of construction. What I'm working on right now, so I'm not just building these lines because they look cool, although they do. I'm specifically building these lines so that... Wait a minute. No, that still works. I'm doing this so that I can have lots of tier 2 and tier 3 isotopes to work with. And this is because I'm going to be going on a big upgrade spree soon. So I've got my mine, I've got a production line going. Like, this is essentially what I want the mineral factory to look like when I've got a mineral sorry, need to assign workers. This is what I want. I want an equivalent version of this for minerals. So in this case, we've got 2 production lines, one producing tier 3s, one producing tier 2s, and I should be able to just upgrade everything to sky-high levels. We've already got 648, so basically, at this point, there's no excuse for me to have tier 2, like tier 2 fuel tanks and whatnot. I don't need to go nuts. Like, so for instance, the conversion center, I believe if I upgrade it, it's going to have a higher energy requirement. So what I'm going to start with here is we'll hit the energy plant, then the fuel turbine. While I'm at it, we'll also upgrade the command center. So that's going to shut down my mine for a little bit, but that's fine because there's not a ton for me to worry about. Actually, you know what? I am going to upgrade the conversion center. May not be obvious why that's a good idea right now, but it's basically because it's going to turn the power off for it for a little while. And then we can go... oh, I forgot to get the fuel depot. So fuel turbine... Guess this makes the most sense. So I'm not necessarily going to populate it. Then I'm going to stick a command center. It's not quite as important where I put it. Might get a little awkward now that I think of it for where I put the energy pylon. It's actually, that gives me it's a very weak, or there's a slight argument for me to put it here. But I'm slightly more inclined for putting it here, save for the fact that it's kind of inconvenient for where the energy pylon goes. I'm doing it. Okay. I don't want to get too reckless with my minerals, but I think I can afford... Well, we'll wait it out. Get the command center down one more time. Oh, I forgot! Damn it! I knew I was making a mistake. I just didn't realize it until it was too late. So yeah, this is a problem here. So there's a nice little temporary solution to this, but I feel like a moron. So basically I need to power the command center back on to get this energy pylon back on, and yeah. We'll get all of this back, I'm not that worried. Like I said, taking advantage of the upgrades while I can.
I was brought up to believe in hard work. and I will continue to work hard on destroying you.
Now, way to not lose time. So hopefully they don't attack the activated tank. If they do, it's going to get a little awkward. Okay, clearly I misjudged. So we'll start by taking out the weapon, and we can probably make this a lot faster by taking out the life support as well. So I would have expected there to be a second ship. Yep, there it is. Okay, so this thing's going to charge a bit faster, but we're in decent shape. One other thing I could try to do would be to cut the power somehow. Ooh, actually, this might be a good way of doing that. No, they still got power for that. So for some reason they're still able to get power to this thing. Okay, either way, I'm pretty sure this thing's toast, so cancel the alarm. We should be able to do... Oh no, we can't do a repair all because we don't have any money. So, the eventual plan is to demolish this and put an energy plant in instead. But I'm going to need more fuel for that. Which is why I'm starting to build this thing, but not actually use it yet. Okay. I still have a surplus of tier 3 isotopes.
Council money may buy you weapons, but it doesn't buy you morals.
Also, I have things I can get, so we'll start by claiming some more artifacts. We'll also scan any ruins that are in my reach. We can demolish this energy pylon now. Actually didn't extend as far as I thought it was going to. That's fine. For tier 3 minerals, so basically what I wanted to do here was make sure that I had roadways. So this isn't the smartest thing because I'm sort of cutting myself off from potentially building more like more fuel turbines, but honestly I don't really want there to be conflict between this fuel turbine and anything else, so I'm not too worried about it. Also, we've already claimed this territory, so I'm able to get like a proper highway down. So the idea here is that any pylon that I build has to be compatible with my road infrastructure, which I think it's pretty obvious where it's going to go. But I am going to need to upgrade it, which is fine because again we've been investing a lot in terms of our ability to do tier 3 isotopes. Once we get a few more red, I keep calling them red artifacts because I think originally there was going to be a few different tiers of artifact. But once we get some more artifacts, then I can start swelling my ranks again. For now, it looks like we're just getting a lot of raw resources, which again is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with getting some basic minerals and isotopes, but they're not necessarily the most exciting thing to get when you're needing artifacts to do conversions. So the reason why I wanted to get this highway built was basically I'm gonna take care of this mineral node. I'm gonna somehow get a similar setup to Isotopia. Oh, damn it! You're not supposed to put waste in there. This one's fine for waste. This one I think just wound up being really centralized. I don't actually need it, but... Oh, the one thing I forgot to upgrade was the transport. I actually have uses for an upgraded transport hub. Anyways, neither here nor there. We'll upgrade the energy pylon. I should probably get it to the top tier. I may not need it as the top tier, but it's probably not a bad idea for me to just do that ahead of time, and then I just don't need to worry about it. Because again, doing that to when there's a command center, you lose the tiles that the command center has active, and there's just other stuff you need to worry about. So I can't convert because we didn't pay people. But yeah, anyways, I wanted to get the roadways down just so that I could... actually, it turns out I was off by 1. So I probably didn't actually need to build the roads down here. I could have split off like this. Oh well. But again, the plan here is build a mine by this mineral node, set up a factory. We can definitely demolish this. I'll probably demolish this just because of the pollution that generates. If you want an idea of how I'm going to figure out what I need to do, I just kind of take a look at the patterns from this. So my prediction would be, if we build it here, I'm going to need to... Oh, actually, it may just be that we don't have a pollution problem in Glitch. I still want to make it so that, I have a little bit of a better environment for workers anyway. Like I want to build the residential areas where there's no chance of pollution. But what's probably going to happen is it's going to be sort of a column like, well, we can quantify it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just say 4. Yeah, so 2 on one, 2 on the other. I mean, in fairness, like this isn't looking great for pollution either, but so we've got 2 here, 2 here. Yeah, so it like just misses Glitch. Although again, because the wind's blowing over it, I suspect probably this is going to wind up being pretty toxic. But I would expect probably like this area here is going to be fine for houses when the time comes. Although again, it's probably not a bad idea for me to just build this stuff and actually see if it works. I will upgrade this transport hub at some point, but I want to get the command center down first. And we're doing an okay. We have got quite a bit of waste here, but I think the waste was mostly because of all of the the stuff that I blew up. So I suspect we'll see this number go down. Well, actually, it may be going up because of the mine and the higher. May actually want to upgrade the smokestack now that I think of it. I'll keep an eye on that number and see if it keeps going in the wrong direction. Again, I'm not too worried because we've got a good line going as far as isotopes are concerned, but certainly claiming the territory for the mineral node is the higher priority right now. Let's start repairing everything. Okay, one more for you. I'll eventually deal with this fuel turbine, but I don't want to occupy my workers too much. Chief of Tickets, Researchers. Okay, so I've got a surplus of artifacts now, so I can... Gatling gun. Gatling guns seem very powerful. I'm not quite ready for that. Let's get the ticket book. Truck movement speed's also nice to get, but let's just make sure... Okay, influence cap I want. Repair is tempting, but I'll resist for now. Spaceport storage is helpful. Okay, so that's sort of my that's a handful of nodes that I'm going to want access to taken care of. That has limited my ability, so I'm going to need 25 more artifacts to be able to get all of the, all the employees that I want. But that's going to be happening gradually over time. I don't actually think it hurts me to just get a few nodes that I can work with over time. Okay, so we've got our top tier command center ready to go now. Not a lot to explore, but let's clear out the ruins that we can. I do also have an artifact patch that I can claim at some point. But the main task is getting a mining operation up and running. So I think what we could do here, roadway sort of hugging the crevice. So mine, factory, I guess storage facility, but if I do that, I'm gonna have to make sure I claim the minerals patch and get working on that sooner rather than later. Mind you, I don't mind having the storage being the last thing that I build, seeing as we've already got a spare storage facility. If anything, we've got too many storage facilities. Although, I'm always bad with storage, so it's actually not... I don't think it's all that terrible that I've allowed myself to go nuts. Okay, so this number is ticking up. I should probably consider a better smokestack. Let's do that right now. More trucks will probably also help with that, but just because I've got a big storage facility for garbage doesn't mean I should get lazy on that. And more fuel storage is good, but I'm not going to take advantage of that. Right now I just want to get the remaining rocks dealt with. I'll get the easy wins for starters. Because I do have mines and all of that to build. What? Oh, hang on. It's tier 1. So, as far as tier 1 minerals are concerned, we actually have a lot of them. but I do want to get up and running on this mine, even if I don't actually wind up mining from it originally, if I just kind of keep this thing silent. I do want a bit of an idea in terms of the pollution, so I am probably going to run this as soon as I can. But really, this is just about getting myself in a position where I can handle the infrastructure, and I can get a realistic idea in terms of what I'm going to need to be able to expand and get the credits up. Because there's a bunch of stuff that I want to buy with credits, which I currently can't afford. I'm going to have a surplus of 1,000, so we can at least pick up the energy depot. I want to build a science lab at some point too, but again, that requires energy that I don't... Well, I mean, I've got some, right? But I feel like I probably should be working with more. I'm curious. We're at 300 now. We'll see what happens over time now that I've got a higher level smokestack running. And then for my isotopes, I can upgrade the storage facility. I could upgrade the smokestack one more time if I feel like I can afford the workers. I do have 21 available, so it's not a terrible idea for me to work with that, I guess. Or I can upgrade the transport. Oh, okay, here. One more smokestack. And we'll do what we can for the transport hub. It's mostly just because I can't take advantage of the trucks right now. I'm gonna need more influence. So this lets me... Actually, there's one thing I can do for the... So we can donate tier 1 minerals, which we've got a surplus of. It's not enough for me to claim the minerals patch right now, but shouldn't be too hard to work with. Yeah, actually, no, this works well because I don't hook the mine up to the mineral node. I hook the mine up to the minerals patch. Makes it easy. So I could even start by putting the beginnings of the storage facility. Oh. Nope, that's fine. That doesn't matter. I thought I would need to go back to tier 3 minerals, but you don't need minerals to build factories. One of the few buildings that don't require them. But yeah, so I'll put the roads down when I can. But in this case, I'm able to even just put down a smaller storage facility that I can then use temporarily, and then once we mine out the minerals patch, we can turn that into something else. Ah, interesting. So I break the big one, but then I need to break up the smaller ones. I forgot about that. I don't normally break up the rocks, obviously. But I do keep forgetting that you can actually find little goodies inside of them. One neat thing, by the way, if you look at pollution, it's maybe not quite so obvious, but when you blow them up, there is actually pollution. So if you want to see how the pollution works, you can actually sort of see it disperse over time. I think that's a really neat touch that they added. And again, if there's rain, that helps take the pollution out of the air. It's I think, I don't know, like there's other stuff going. Here's one of the things that actually, I don't even think this is a shame about Industries of Titan so much as it's just a fact. There's a lot of detail that's in this game that I actually think is very interesting. But it's also true that people, so when I play Industries of Titan, I'm building the city, and I'm worrying about the rebels, and I'm thinking about a bunch of other things. And it's wonderful that I think about the game this way, but it does mean that there's some cool little things in the game that don't necessarily get identified. So the idea of the fact that, you know, the rain kind of clears the pollution out and things like that. I think those are really cool touches, and I think it's really neat that they decided to take the time to do that. They didn't have to. They probably could have done a simpler system that, you know, people would feel the same way about. But again, it's a little bit of a shame in another sense too, because it actually represents effort that's been put into the game that maybe doesn't necessarily get the recognition that I feel it deserves. So I don't know. It's one of those, for me at least, it's one of those things I want to take the time to highlight, because I actually think it's neat that they did that. Okay, so I've got 3 more influence that I need before I claim the minerals patch. We're almost ready to lay the last of the road. Don't have a lot as far as money is concerned, so I can't buy the trucks that I wanted from the transport hub. I can, however, convert a few more citizens into loyal workers. See that pollution? That's what progress looks like. Okay. So I'm going to need to put down an energy pylon before I can work with the mine. That actually is a little more complicated than it seems. I may have to blow up these rocks because I don't really have... Well, I guess maybe I can put down the pylon here. Maybe it's better for me to put the pylon here, actually. We'll see. And we're draining batteries. Why are we draining batteries? Like, this stuff isn't up and running. I guess it was the smokestack. Anyways, I have a brief reprieve just because I turned off the shipyard, but I'm gonna have to pay that back when the mine comes online and I get the factories running. Okay. Oop. So this thing's gonna be dedicated to minerals, no waste. Waste goes up here. Oh yeah, no, it was because I did the smokestack and the transport hub. Transport hub does have an energy cost itself. So the sooner I get the energy plant up and running, the better. I'm actually going to take the time to upgrade the fuel turbine. Okay, so I do need energy for the mine. So I'm just going to put it on the rocks here. Ah, interesting. I kind of want to send a hit squad out after them, but I need the credits, so I'm going to leave that be. But yeah, I'm putting the energy pylon here just because it's a little bit easier for reaching the mine, and it doesn't necessarily get in the way of roadways. So it doesn't exactly kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but it doesn't hurt, and it has a slight efficiency that I prefer. It's maybe the better way to put it. It doesn't hurt is a high priority target for me for most of my Industries of Titan choices. Probably shouldn't have done that. I should have waited to claim the minerals patch, because now we're going to be waiting a bit. Can donate minerals though. I've had this thing off too long. We should be able to catch up without too much fuss. It's a little embarrassing that I didn't handle that earlier. I think we need 90 for the last level of the turbine. Yeah. So that'll take care of itself up here. Also, remember, we were at 300 before, so with the tier 3 smokestack, we're on track for what we wanted. Now, whether it's going to be able to sustain a second mine up and running along with a full factory, that's another question, but one we may need to answer in a future episode. So yeah, we're actually on our way to a few... Jesus, 14 smokestacks. Yeah, we're actually on our way to a number of victory conditions. How's my rival doing? Yeah, we're fine. Okay, we claim the patch. I don't hate the idea of using this for fuel, but I do need the artifacts for conversions. I'm tempted to just go full upgrade on this as well. Start with the fuel turbine, though. The other thing I'm tempted to do here is build another... Actually, I am going to do this. I'm going to build another energy floor. So we go to tier 3. So there's a specific order behind this structure here. It's basically because I need an energy bridge, but I also need the relay. And notice the way the relay works. So basically, if I don't have these two in the middle, it makes it hard for just one of these to get everything by the one touch. So if I build it this way, I can have the energy bridge and the relay in place. And then, as a nice little bonus, I get to jam this thing full of batteries. That's a full energy floor. There is a fuel cost to that, but again, we've got a fuel turbine turning on, so I'm not that worried about it. I don't know if I'm fully comfortable turning the shipyard back on, but... we got a surplus of 40. I do like keeping as much of the stuff on as I can, just because if I keep too much stuff turned off, it's not just that I get a false impression in terms of what my actual capacity is. The other problem is that I lose that option of that emergency power savings. So, like, I don't need the shipyard, but it doesn't hurt for me to have the shipyard either. But if I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, I really need, you know, all hands on deck. If I've already turned off all of the non-essential buildings. What? Why revoked? Oh, the fuel. Fair enough. That will change in a little bit. But yeah, no, it's just one of these cases where if I can, it's nice to have a realistic idea of what my what the impact on my my city corp is going to be. Jesus, that's a lot of fuel. Okay, so this thing's up and running. Like I said, I will do the upgrade first. This is just partly me being overly cautious. I'm going to set this minerals patch as the target. Again, we don't have the power for it, so it doesn't really count for much right now. Now, one thing you'll notice is if I look at my tier 1 isotopes, I actually don't have a lot. So that means four of my lines are not being used in Isotopia, which is not a great place to be in. But I have other priorities right now, so let's get the factory up and running. And again, it's going to be you've seen this setup before. It's definitely going to knock us back to the bad place as far as our energy is concerned. But again, I don't need to turn everything on. In fact, that'll probably be the last thing that I build, is the power. I say that, but I probably actually need the power as a guideline, so we'll see. That's not right. Right? Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I'm not thinking straight. So I'll build a second line of these as well, but I wanted to get at least the basics down for the first line, especially because once I get the power up and running, I can just move, like, it means that I can move the old system into the, I'm sorry, I can dismantle the old system and put the new one in its place. Yeah, I think we're ready to put the energy bridge down. Especially because it occurred to me that there is some power generation happening in this area as well. Okay, so it's not processing anything yet. I want to be kind of careful the order in which I do some of this stuff, but I think this is fine. No, it's not, because I still need this thing to work. Oh, actually, I probably need the employee module as well. Silly me. So it's all well and good for me to like mess around with this, but there's actually parts inside this processor that still need to be worked on. We can definitely get rid of the input modules, though. Waste module, I'll want to keep one for the waste that happens as a result. Oh yeah, I forgot to get rid of this receptacle too. Now the real test. So this can definitely go. Okay, clearly this is not connected to anything, so that we're actually not losing. This will knock us off the edge, though. And I'm clearly not in a position to be able to Yeah, I'm not quite at the spot where I'm going to be building the replacement. I think I'm just gonna play it by ear and see how it goes. But we are draining batteries now, so I want to be a bit careful. The good news is this is also going to... So you'll notice that I've had a little bit of a problem. I am a moron. Need an employee module here. This is also going to finally solve that problem of not... I've had this problem where I alternate between Tier 2 and Tier 3 being constructed. This will finally get rid of that problem. I now have sort of two... I have like one line producing Tier 3s and one line producing Tier 2s. And hopefully I'll have a second one of those before too long. Okay, let's just make sure headquarters is working the way that it was intended. Okay, yes, you're generating power. You're generating power. I probably have a couple of efficiencies I can work with in terms of ditching the fuel fabricator and actually putting some more power generating items in here, but I think we'll keep this as is. I guess I could turn off the fuel fabricator. It's maybe not the most important thing for me to worry about right now. What's the pollution look like? It's probably, yeah, not really generating enough to give me a realistic idea of how much trouble I'm in. Okay, that's good news there. They're already working on this node. I just want this thing to be running for a little while to get an idea of what a constant stream of pollution looks like and where I can afford to build buildings and not. So I'm going to let that run for a bit, but I really don't need the Tier 1 minerals for that. This is more just messing around and seeing how it all works. Let's try and get a few more employees. We're actually getting really close to the limits of our citizen. I think this is actually going to push us over the edge, so I got to be a little careful. But again, I have enough runway to mess around with these numbers a bit. In fact, if anything, I can just build another work from home setup. I really built an input module instead of an employee module. Holy crap, I clearly need to get some sleep. Okay, how's this thing going? Everything's clear. And I need to build a relay because I put this all in the wrong spot. So yeah, this was a little bit of a surprise as far as the battery drain's concerned, but that shouldn't have been a surprise because it is two large generators that I axed. That's probably not that informative because it's raining. I mean, it gives me an idea that the pattern's close to what we thought it would be, but I probably want a little bit more of a battle-tested prediction. Okay. I'm tempted to throw some more isotopes at the transport hub, but that is going to exacerbate the energy problems. I'm clearly not going to have enough minerals to Well, that's not entirely true, because a lot of these minerals need to be moved out. Oof! Okay, never mind. Turns out that I did actually need those credits after all. So this time I'm just gonna turn everything off. Oh no, actually we're good, so we can dismantle all of this. Well, except for the output module, but... But yeah, this thing's pretty much ready to go. I can discard it if I want, but why would I, right? I like keeping resources. Okay, let's think about the next few things that we need. Trucks, but I can only really get those when I have money. I do want to dismantle this sooner rather than later so that I can get the energy going. Okay, this is good. Still not entirely clear what the pollution situation looks like. But I think for now, let's just put down another factory and build a good old-fashioned work-from-home setup. We need the power for it, but we will have the power for it when the time comes. Should probably hang on to these isotopes for now, at least until I've got the tier 3 power plant, otherwise there's going to be problems. So again, we will speed things up, and this is just because I'm waiting for some of my workers to do their thing. Okay. What? I don't have the minerals. No. We only need one more tier 3 though. Won't take that long. Meanwhile, let's just claim some more goodies. I'm tempted to claim the artifact patch, but, well, one, I don't have the influence for it, but, yeah, we'll put that on ice for now. Let's go... Okay, there's a few things I need to do here. So, first of all, we need the other power plant. Power plant is basically going to enable the next few steps. Connecting the storage facility, this is mostly just a because I can project more than anything else. Upgrade this to tier 3 as quickly as possible. We should already have the fuel for it for the fuel turbine. Connect the factory, but I don't think I'm going to build the work from home setup until I've upgraded the energy plant, because that's going to be a big drain on... Okay. I did not need to freak out nearly as much, because I just needed to turn off the shipyard. Yeah, we'll be fine. Still, it doesn't hurt to have the energy plant up and running. The thing that really shocked me was the difference of credits. I really blew it in terms of accounting for the difference. I'll confess, this was a bit of a surprise. So just let them build the energy plant here. So connect these. One of the other reasons why I'm putting so much emphasis on getting all of this built before I get all the citizen buildings, I tend to notice my residential districts tend to have insatiable power demands. And so getting, like, even if I'm just building a few of these little shanty towns and factories, that is something that I don't mind investing. Oops. I actually don't mind taking the time to invest in, because in the end I know there's going to be really big power demands, and if I don't have a good way of satisfying those, it's effectively wasted time. So I still think this is worth doing. Although again, the question to me right now is how far does the pollution drift? Here I'm just going to look for nodes that haven't been researched yet. Spaceport storage is tempting. I think in this case, well, we don't really need the fuel, so influence cap we're not going to be hitting for a while, so yeah, spaceport storage is a good place to start. Okay. Tier 3, so this is just going to take a worker and we'll be good, which means I can afford to upgrade the transport hub. And with that in mind, while everybody else is doing the work, I should have enough. Yes, I do. Okay, so we're going to build at least one more work from home setup. So you'll notice I'm building this one slightly differently here. I'm not like building the energy pylon and all that. There's a specific reason for this, is that basically by making, or the energy bridge rather, by making the energy bridge the last thing that I build, it means that all of these power demands, I kind of put them off. So basically every monetization station and habitat, like all of the habitat pods, all of those get built before they start drawing power. So even the bridges aren't a big problem. Now, if the power plant isn't up and running in time for the bridge to be up and running, that's another matter. But the plan is here. We should... Okay, we're not quite ready for the energy plant yet. But yeah, like the idea here is that this thing should be... this thing should be powering this factory before I have to worry about the demands. Oh, is it up and running already? Why am I now at 35? Oh, because we're not powering the transport hub. I'm going to try and get another mineral line up and running. Really just built that using tier 1s. Okay, let's try that again. This is kind of a sloppy way of me building this same setup before, but this is, if I'm quiet over this, it's just because I have talked about how clever I feel designing this many, many times, and I think fans of Industries of Titan are going to revolt if I go into the details of this setup one more time. So clearly we don't have enough tier 2 minerals. I need to build sort of the other steps, but it also won't be drawing down my energy, so that's nice. Moving right along, let's get a worker in the new energy plant. And then we'll see how screwed we are as far as power goes. We should be fine. Yeah, 168. Even when we turn on the factories and habitat pods and all of that, we'll be fine. Although it looks like it's ready to go here, so let's start getting some citizens. So we're at 50, which is not quite what I needed. 4s are a little hard to come by, so this may be a bit more painful than I anticipated. I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I will activate for the fuel. Let's get some more artifacts. Basically just cleaning up whatever I can. Eventually I'm going to start blowing up rocks, but I'm not quite that desperate yet. I suppose I can grab some actually, these minerals would not be a bad idea, because... Ooh, that's concerning. Oh no! Man, it has been a while since I've seen a crash like this. Let me just take a quick second here and see what happened. Huh. As it is, I probably need to wrap this up anyway. But so the good news is Industries of Titan autosaves a lot. So we aren't going to lose too much progress. But I figure I can at least... I feel like a dick the way that I submitted that bug report. So the bug report basically just said, like, look at the 3-hour, 6-minute mark on the the System Chalk stream, but it's like I don't know what caused that. So it's like it's the best that I've got to give them. Like, so the thing is that if it's 9 times out of 10, that is probably not going to be worth the effort to see what I'm doing. On the odd chance somebody looks at that and says, okay, clearly it is bad to have a crash to desktop and we have no idea what the hell is going on. This at least gives them a fighting chance to see what caused that. But yeah, I wish I could give a more descriptive bug report than just watch my stream. I don't know, like it's what I got. Okay. What was I trying to do? Okay, so good, claimed. Can't buy cars yet. A surplus of 420. Oh, right. I was claiming these ruins. And again, if I want, I can start blowing up rocks. Why not? Let's blow up some rocks. Okay. So, I definitely need some minerals. At some point, I'm also going to direct this mine towards these mineral patches. Oh, right. That was the thing I wanted to check. Like, it was the resource quality. But yeah, I mean, at this point here, especially with 168 energy, and that's with everything turned on, I'm pretty much at the point here where I want to be building another command center and essentially turning this into, you know, a set of offices and residential buildings. At some point, when I take a look at my goals, so I do want to get some science labs down. Science labs aren't as big of a deal because I don't need to put them beside roads other than to, you know, maybe get the resources there a little bit faster. I felt that destroying Rebel HQs probably should happen after I've built some large ships. That requires money, so that's sort of a do that after I have a very large workforce job. I've already got the migrant ships, so we just need the influence for that. Yeah, citizens shouldn't be that hard. The 14 smokestacks I'm probably gonna have to give up. Like, there better be a pretty awesome reward waiting for me in the 5th tier to make that worthwhile. But yeah, for now I think we're just gonna let nature take its course, and by nature I mean capitalism. And yeah, I'm gonna accumulate influence so that I can direct the mineral node towards these patches rather than the node. Sorry, I think I said the wrong terms here. I'm going to accumulate the influence so that the mine can get the patch as opposed to the node. Because again, the problem is not really... Actually, I almost want to turn these off. The problem is not so much the tier 1 minerals. I wanted a kind of an idea of what the effect of the pollution would be. Clearly, it's higher. So like a standard level is like 460 something. So like 15 up here, that kind of makes sense. But like by this point, it's all sort of dissipated. And I don't know if it means that it's sort of like wafting over here, because like this number has slowly been going up. Like 11 is relatively high, all told. But like when I take a look at health, like it's not perfect, but it's not awful either. Like in theory, I could actually put some people in place here. I don't know. Like if I can lower the mortality rate, so much the better. But I might just be overthinking this at this point. Anyways, that's a problem for me to think about after I do all of this. I still don't have tier 2 minerals, which worries me a little bit. We've got 35 free employees, so something's stopping them from being effective with this. And again, the smokestack's doing the Lord's work. It's clearing out all the waste. So, yeah, I think at this point this is really just more of a waiting game than anything. If I really have to, I can put the 25, like the tier 3 minerals on it, but the reason why I've got 2 production lines is to avoid that very situation, so... yeah, I think I'm going to leave it be. I might even turn off the tier 3 line just to make life a little more easy for me. As for the rest... I'm just trying to think of where I put these science buildings. Like, one thing I like about how this current setup works, right? Is that I've got roads that kind of run along here so I can sort of access everything. If I want, I can run a road sort of around the edge here. I can run it out to the ends here. And if I want, like, I can continue to expand out in this area. So I could, for instance, put like a civilian, another factory for like the work from home setup here. I can also move up with these buildings. So I'm sitting at 288. So it's, you know, I've had worse for getting these upgrades in. But that is kind of putting off the proper like building residential areas. Reckoning. I don't know. I feel like I should have more tier 2 minerals at this point, to be honest. Anyways, I think I did say I was going to wrap it up. So, 3/4 of the way to another rebel attack. I think we should be able to manage with the fleet we have so far, but I may want to be a little more cautious. Two big reasons to expand westward. One, this is likely going to be where I build the residential and office buildings. But number two, the Ruin Monument will help me get influence at a faster rate. There's obviously a rebel camp down below here. So as soon as I get a second... Oh, actually, that's one thing that I can put down here. A second shipyard. That fits like a glove. Actually, I think it's probably not a bad idea for me to put that down now. One more truck. But yeah, definitely need more cash for better ships. Once I have the better ships, then we start blowing up rebel bases. And alongside that, I build... Yeah, so civilian buildings gets me money. Money gets me better ships. Better ships get me rebel bases, which get me victory points. And then as soon as I can lock in a gold victory, we head back to the campaign menu and claim my rewards. Again, all of that will be dealt with on... a week from now, November 2nd? Pretty sure it's November 2nd. Yeah. Also, I don't know. Okay, so normally I'm a bit coy in terms of the stuff I plan on streaming, but thought I'd let you know. So I was thinking of doing... So I really liked playing 2 Point Campus on Monday. Hopefully that was fun for everyone to watch, as it was for me to play. But one of the... Okay, so there was a... As actually... Okay. Nobody here has to worry about what I'm about to say, because the worst thing is like the people who are the nicest worry the most about this sort of stuff, and it's the people who are really spoiling it who don't have the self-reflection. But I wound up chatting with Takri about just behaviors that drive me up the wall. There was one in particular. The thing is that this person doesn't comment on the YouTube videos anymore. It was like just this really pushy guy in the comments, and one of the things they would always do on the Cultist Simulator stuff would tell me what I was thinking. And like one of the ones I remember really specific is like, "You're trying to be mysterious here, but it's obvious that..." And it's like, actually, it's not obvious if you haven't played the game before, and I'm not trying to be mysterious here. I am trying to say, if you don't know what this is, think about it. How would you have solved it? Because I'm getting to a point where I'm going to have to do this myself. And it is actually, to me, it is one of the most irritating things in the world to have people explain your intentions to you. They don't know, but I do know what my intentions are. And particularly when they just do it in that really bossy, know-it-all way. So that was someone who actually became enough of a problem that I just straight up told them, yeah. If you go, I'm pretty sure you commented before that came up, but if you go back and look at it, you will see that with that person, I actually just straight up told them, stop telling me what to do. And if you take a look at the videos after I said that, they never commented on another video again. And I don't actually care enough about the follower thing to see whether or not they unfollowed, but I would not be surprised if they just left. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that is a decent way of, engaging with the video, right? Is that if you're new to the game, rather than just have someone tell you, let's go to the main menu so you can listen to some nice music. I think if you have someone who you just like watching, and maybe you have not played a particular, if you've not played a particular DLC to the end, it seems like a nice courtesy to have someone say, hey, if you want a chance to do this for yourself, you can, you get a chance to think about this. And it's like, that might mean you want to go and you want to play that DLC on your own. It could mean that maybe you want to, maybe you want to spend some time thinking about how I'm going to work through whatever I'm going to do with this. Like, again, it doesn't, like, it costs nothing to the people who already know, because they know what's coming. But to the people who want to take some time and think about it, it seems like a nice courtesy. But anyway, so the one thing I will say, though, is I do get a bit coy when it comes to future stuff that I'm broadcasting. And there's actually a very specific reason for that, is that if I change my mind, which doesn't always happen, but does sometimes happen, I really don't like saying, hey, I'm going to... Okay, so let's just be clear. What I'm about to say is an example, and this is not a future plan, because everybody plays horror games around Halloween, and I've just got too much on my plate to do justice to this. But I know for a group of people, if I were to say, I'm going to play Resident Evil for the first time on Friday, there's a lot of people who are specifically going to want to see that. I know Resident Evil is an incredibly popular game on Twitch. So again, let me just be clear, that's not what's happening Friday. That is an example of the sort of thing that can lead to people, getting really excited and like wanting to set aside time to watch that sort of thing. And the thing is that to me, there's a lot of value. Like, if I'm not feeling like God's gift to streaming on that day, and, like on Monday, Monday I would have normally done Terra Invicta, but given the fact that I was actually in a bad mood because of the lineup at the polling station and just all of the nonsense that I had to deal with there, it was nice for me to be able to just sort of like kick back and play something that just makes me happy. And I value that because, number one, I think that means that better shows come on as a result of that. But also number two is that preserves things for the viewers, because there isn't sort of a promise, except maybe an implicit one. Because like obviously Monday I usually wind up doing a strategy game, right? But basically, because there isn't this explicit promise that's been made, and that somebody might be, again, I don't want to pretend that I'm important enough that someone would schedule their time around me, but if you wanted to make the effort to go and see it, and then you saw something different happen, you would be justifiably annoyed by that. So as a result, when I'm doing something different, when I have a plan for something, particularly if it's something about being given early access or, just a press key for something that I'm excited to try out. I usually say that I'm excited to be doing something coming up, but I don't say what it is. I'm gonna break that here, just because I don't know. I want to see if it is as big of a deal as I brought up, but. A few weeks ago, I was actually given a press key for the game Against the Storm. And it seems that they gave us a lot of kind of lead-in time. Now, I don't do a lot of YouTube stuff, so the lead-in time didn't mean a whole lot. But I actually almost broke the embargo on Monday because I'm accustomed to getting stuff a lot closer to release. So I'm kind of glad that I double-checked. But it's also a city builder. A little bit more of a fantasy theme, and it's one I follow someone on Twitter, Fernando Rizzo, who is actually now working at Hooded Horse. Wasn't working with them at the time I followed them, but basically they seem to be really excited about that game. So I'm excited about it just because, again, someone you follow on Twitter, if you're interested in their stuff and you think they have good taste, you'll get excited by that yourself. So I'm interested. I don't know a lot about the game, but it does seem to have some positive buzz as far as just the word of mouth is concerned. And just to give you guys an idea, the last time there was a game like that, which I'd heard about earlier, and I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be interesting. I really want to try it when it comes out. That game was called Disco Elysium. So I don't know if Against the Storm will be... I hope I got that name right, by the way. Let me just double check the Steam library. I don't know if it'll be Against the Storm. It probably won't be like Disco Elysium level special, but it does seem to be something that's got people's attention, and I'm looking forward to trying that. So I believe the embargo is lifted. Yeah, it will be lifted Friday. I do need to make sure that I get the times correct, but I suspect... I usually start streaming pretty close to the end of the day, so I wouldn't, it'd be weird if they said it's 11:59 on the 28th, but that's my plan right now for Friday. Again, I apologize if it doesn't turn out that way, but that's the current plan. And then for those of you who are here for Industries of Titan, I'm definitely going to do more of that on Wednesday. Monday, I'll probably be back to Terra Invicta, but we'll see where it goes. And if you wanted something for horror for, for the 31st, I don't know. I can try. I feel like everybody's kind of does that. And I have done horror games. I like horror games, actually. But I feel like I don't know... I don't know if there's a whole lot that I add by just being another person that streams horror on Halloween. I would be interested in doing Amnesia Rebirth at some point, though. And if you guys are interested in seeing Resident Evil, I believe there is a PC version of it out now, so I am happy to give it a try. But there's a lot of stuff that's really popular that I haven't tried yet. Okay, I am delighted to see that this guy is back. So Outworld is streaming Mortal Kombat 2. Outworld had been in a really, really tough spot for a while. He was basically streaming from a shed, and it's worth remembering, this guy's got a family now, right? So, he's been married for a while, but, he has a kid now. So he's now finally got a house. Housing in Australia has been absolutely bananas. In Australia. Well, in Canada, too, but, it has been a journey for him. And he's actually got a really cool streaming setup in this new place, it looks like. So I know he's been taking it easy lately, but I am delighted to be able to host him. I'm actually also going to use the shout out command for a couple of other people. So we've got the Wolf Arok, who is currently streaming Retro. I think he might just be getting started. And then someone who sometimes hangs out Tiberiosity is playing Cyberpunk 2077. Oh, interesting. They only let me do one shout out. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll give it to the Wolf Arok. I think you all know Tiberiosity. But yes, we are going to be hosting Outworld. For those of you who don't know him, Australian streamer. He's been doing this for a while. He's actually one of the oldest people I know. Well, say oldest people. It's one of the people I've known longest on Twitch. Way back when he was known as Captain Howdy. And he's really found a niche for himself in terms of Mortal Kombat. And actually is someone who has a number of world records in this game. So it's interesting to watch him play this stuff. I've seen him do the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat, which was delightful because it very clearly pained him. But anyways, he's definitely somebody who I like to throw some support for. He's definitely a bigger streamer. He's partnered and all of that, but I don't hold that against him. He's definitely somebody who I like to throw some support for, and I'm delighted to see him back. So I hope you all have a good time at Outworlds. I'll see you all Friday. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching.